Good afternoon. I'll call this General Services Public Works Committee meeting to order. It's February 8th, 2021 and 12 p.m. We have today 4 items on our agenda, and the first one is approval of a professional services agreement with JUB Engineers in the amount of $453,449 for the sewer collection system master plan update. And with us today is Mike Becker, the Capital Program Manager for our Wastewater Utility Department. That was a mouthful.
I've been known to do that.
Welcome.
So, good afternoon, council members and general services. So, thank you for allowing the wastewater department the opportunity to present our presentation for a professional services agreement for JUB Engineers to update our sewer master plan. So what is a sewer master plan? This fine-looking binder here is the 2013 sewer master plan, and it is a comprehensive study of the city's public sewer system. I emphasize public. It's based on 3 conditions. Based on today's flows, what we call near-term or committed flows, that is for property that's vacant within the city, that is potential for development, and master plan flows, which is based on ultimate build-out. So I guess our next question is, what's the benefit to the city and why do we need a sewer master plan? Well, within my staff report, we have some of the benefits outlined, one of which is updating our geographical information system, better known as a GIS map. We use this to locate and provide the community with where the sewer is out there in the city right-of-way, in easements, or in tracks. It's also very beneficial to the wastewater utility because we're able to optimize our O&M procedures out in our sewer collection system. Second, we use the sewer master plan to prioritize our RR projects. RR stands for rehabilitation and rehab. Some of you may recall back in 2018, right here next to City Hall, we had a small project where we were able to bypass the sewer, roughly 1 million gallons a day, through the park on top of this pipe that was located in the ground. And in return, we rehabilitated this interceptor line. The master plan helped identify that as a project that would be needed. Next, we have the ability to identify inflow sources. Inflow is where stormwater is injected directly into the sanitary sewer. Since currently we're not required to treat stormwater to the same level as sanitary sewer, we feel that it's important to try to remove as much of it as possible. The 2013 model that you're looking at right here identified the business district, the central business district, 3rd and 4th Street, and the Fort Grounds as some targeted areas, of which 15.7 equivalent acres of stormwater is being introduced into the sanitary sewer system. Fast forward to today, we have removed 9.1 acres or 58% of the stormwater that was being introduced to the sanitary sewer. The master plan helps identify those areas. We would like to focus our next area right through this area right here. We call it the Lincoln Sewer Basin. That would incorporate the Kootenai Health Corridor as well as Ironwood. The master plan also is very beneficial to the city by identifying potential capacity problems within our sewer system. Here you're looking at 3 different reserve capacity maps that were outlined in our 2013 model. Again, it's for the 3 different conditions that I previously mentioned: existing, committed, and future. This is a blown up section of the master plan model. What you see here is pipelines, sewer pipelines out in the city. These are the public sewers that have been identified at build-out conditions that may need to be replaced or upsized. Of concern is red. When you see red on this figure, it means that we are expecting problems out there. Dark orange is areas that we need to probably take a more aggressive approach on, and this master plan update intends to identify those areas more extensively. I'm going to call your attention to this area down here. This is just west of the resort golf course. You'll notice that there's quite a bit of red there. I will come back to that in a bit. These are some other benefits that we get from a sewer master plan. It aids the wastewater department in subdivision and development design processes. We also use the master plan combined with the treatment plant's facility plan so we can anticipate upgrades at the treatment plant. We also use some of the costs in the sewer master plan to help develop our budget. And lastly, capital improvement projects. Again, I'm going to highlight this area down here. This is just west of the golf course, north being the top of the map. This is our capital improvement plan summary map. This was taken right out of the 2013 model. We will get an updated one. We have already completed several projects along the way since the 2013, and we have identified this project, C2. You're going to hear a lot about C2 in the coming years. That is going to be needed to be included in our capital improvement plan. What you see over here in red, C1, is something that's called out for a replacement of a pipe. This is over by One Lakeside. Flows have not dictated that this project needs to be done in the near future. The 2013 model called out a time frame, and since then the wastewater utility has taken it upon themselves to monitor these more critical areas on a routine basis throughout the year. We feel that rather than using a time certain date for us to do these projects, it should be based on an as-needed basis or when flow dictates. So again, C2. C2 has a 24-inch pipe that bottlenecks into a 12-inch pipe all the way to manhole M1-20. The 2013 model identified this as we got a problem. And then profile view down below, you can see the blue represents how this pipe is going to flow at build-out conditions. We're likely going to surcharge this line to the point where it's filling up these manholes. When we get down here, which would be at this location right here, this location, that sewer surcharge is going to be within 3 feet of the ground surface. So obviously this project has been identified. We are presently monitoring it at an aggressive, several times a year process. In 2016 dollars, this project is going to be $1.3 million. We'll have to keep track of that and bring it to present day value when this trigger point dictates that this project will need to be, we'll need to move forward on this project. So this slide shows you the breakdown of JUB's professional service agreement. As you can see, Task 100 is for the update itself. It's a lump sum project. We know what it's going to roughly cost on that. Task 200 is flow monitoring. We need to do flow monitoring the months of February and March to capture the wet weather flows where stormwater potentially can get introduced into the master plan. And so that's on a time and materials basis. Based on what we think we need out there, that dollar amount is accounted for in Task 200. Of course, we give ourselves, under Task 999, a little additive in case we discover that, one, it doesn't rain, or two, that we have to relocate the flow meters. So, wastewater utility did budget for this under fiscal year 2021. We plan on budgeting the remainder amount of the contract, knowing that this is going to be a 2-year project, the following fiscal year. Now, JUB has done the last 4 sewer plan, master plan updates for us. So they are uniquely qualified. They know what needs to be done. And based on Idaho statute 67-2320, this is a continuation of an ongoing project. Where is the savings to the city? Well, JUB has already built the model, entered in all the data. They have the software and they know what our requirements are. So if we hire another engineering firm, we're going to have to pay them to do all that additional work. So in closing, it's the wastewater department's recommendation that we would like to see a professional services agreement for JUB to update our sewer master plan at a cost of $453,449. And I hope I didn't overload you with too much information. If so, here's your opportunity to ask questions.
Thank you. Well, just a comment, Mike. I think it's so important that you did let the community know, let us know. The reason that this wouldn't go out to bid to another engineering firm, twofold. One is the existing knowledge they have on the 4 last plans, and the other is the expense of starting over. Because normally we probably would ask you some questions about shouldn't this be opened up to go out to bid, but I think you've explained very clearly why we need to continue on with JUB, so I appreciate that.
Thank you.
Nope, I think it's a ordinary and necessary and expensive thing, but we've got to do it, so.
And I'm looking at the notes that I made, and Christy summed it up well, so I don't think I can add anything further to that. So,
Madam Chair, I'd make a motion to recommend the council approve a professional service agreement with JUB Engineers Incorporated in the amount of $453,449 for the sewer collection system master plan update.
Second.
all those, any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Thank you.
Motion passes. Thank you. Moving on to item number 2. This is adoption of the 2021 Parks and Recreation Master Plan. And with us today is Monty McCauley, our Trails Coordinator with our Parks and Recreation Department.
Good afternoon, council members. I also am here to talk about an update to a master plan. So the Parks and Recreation Department last did an update to our master plan in 2008. They should be done about every 10 years, and we did start it about 10 years in, but we've done it in-house, so it took several years to do it. And when we brought this plan to Parks and Rec, we actually had to go back and do some more work and then bring it forward to them again. In September, they asked us to go and get more public input. We had gone out and used surveys and questionnaires to get public comments. We went out again, opened it up for a couple months, and got about 500 more responses from local residents. And things hadn't really changed that much, so the plan you guys read several months ago is pretty much the same. A few things changed. We added in more pickleball facilities because that came up as a pretty big item. We added in a water trail, and even though the charts have a lot more respondents, the numbers were pretty much the same, surprisingly, of what the community wants to see in the Parks Department. And so we've accomplished quite a few things since the 2008 plan. I'm going to go over a few of them with you. We built several new parks, the Landings Park, Sunshine Meadows, and of course recently Atlas Mill Park. We've done some landscaping and amenities in other small parks like Legacy Place. We put some booster pumps in at Bluegrass. And we had a 9-hole disc golf course at Bluegrass, which we split up into 3 practice courses. That we have 3 at Bluegrass, 3 at the Landings, and 3 at Shattuck Park. We also installed an 18-hole disc golf course, which I believe is either soon to be or is on the professional tour. We moved the old, part of the old skate park over to Sunset Fields. We have a satellite skate park there. We installed some lighting there and added some new play elements there at the playground. We repurchased part of Persons Field, installed a playground, and we made a lot of improvements to Fippany Park as well. A new gazebo, some artwork, redid the maintenance building. We acquired Bryan Park from the school district. We added some amenities at Ramsey, including the American Legion baseball field. We have new playgrounds installed at Person Field, Memorial Park, and Ramsey Park. We have 5 off-leash dog parks now, including Atlas Mill, Northshire, Cherry Hill Park, McEwen Park, and a small one along the trail near Riverstone. This is not clicking. We've built McEwen Park. Memorial Park has been extensively renovated. Added a skate park there as well, a really nice large one. We added what we were calling the Field of Dreams, which was formerly the Eagles property at Cherry Hill. We built the 4 miles of the Prairie Trail, which might soon be extended all the way to 41. We got the BLM property along the Spokane River, 22 acres that we have a master plan for that will be coming in development pretty soon. We have been working with some bike groups to start building some facilities in there, like a pump track for kids, a bike park. We've also got the 2 miles of the former railroad easement was purchased along the Spokane River for Atlas. The Atlas Park has now been built. We have an accessible trail on Tubbs Hill, and we finished the fire road up there a couple years ago. We have hiking and mountain bike trails on Canfield. We have the same, or just hiking trails on Fernan. The Can Course is soon to come into the city as well. Veterans Centennial Park, which we acquired in the 90s, we created a master plan to make that a low-impact passive park on that site in the future. We adopted a natural open space plan for all the areas we do have and what to do in those areas. The Urban Forestry Department has come up with a management plan that's actually included in part of this master plan. We added the armory to one of our maintenance facilities now in the Parks Department. We use for woodworking and things like that. And we've combined departments. The Parks Department and the Recreation Department are now one department, which increases efficiency. So we built about 26 miles of shared use paths or trails since 2008. So our total now is about 50 miles of trails. And we've added about 43 miles of bike lanes into the city streets. So that total is now around 64 miles.
Monty, can I just interrupt? I just want to say congratulations to Bill and you and your team in Parks and Rec. I can't tell you how much joy it brought me when I was studying for this meeting and reading through all those items, and just put a big smile on my face. And I hope you guys just took a moment to celebrate in all your work, Christy. It's amazing how much you've accomplished.
Thank you. Yeah, put a lot of work into it.
For sure.
So, level of service. What is a level of service? So this is how we determine what we need in the city for parks and park land. And so every city is different. They figure out what their needs are based on their population. They do surveys as well to figure out what their people need, the age groups, demographics. And it's typically measured with how many acres of parkland per 1,000 residents. And once you establish that, you continue to try to increase facilities as your population grows. And so in 2008, we were at about 3.0 acres of parkland per 1,000 residents. And our desire at the time was 4, but after this last round of questionnaires and surveys, we were looking at trying to aim for 5. And so currently we're about 4.7, so we're pretty close to that mark. Our population has grown quite a bit since then. We've added about 40 acres of parkland since 2008 as well. Now, this plan is set for 10 years, We have to renew it in 2030, but we like to project out to what we consider build out. That would be 2040. So even though we'll update it in 2030, we'll still be shooting for that 2040 mark. And so population projections are about 85,000 people at that time. And so if we don't add any more parks or parkland, our level of service will drop down to about 2.82 acres per 1,000 residents. And that's when our parks become more and more crowded. They don't have the recreation programming, they don't have areas to go. And in order to serve that need, in 20 or 40 years, 20 years, we will need to add about 185 acres of parkland to meet that need. So after the last Parks and Rec meeting, we talked about adding something on budget. So the plan doesn't cost the city anything to adopt. Each individual thing will come back to council for approval. It'll either be added in a budget or we'll have grants, but you will hear about it again when each thing comes up. So we'll talk about costs to develop these things. Now, I didn't include the cost of getting the land, because we've been pretty good in the past about getting land donated to us by developers, finding ways to get that land. So these are just costs of developing those into parks. So a community park and a neighborhood park are, of course, different. Community parks are larger, 10 to 40 acres usually. They have more amenities. They're designed for crowds from outside the neighborhood, more regional. And neighborhood parks are small, usually less than 7 acres. They're for that area. And when we made this plan, one of our goals was try to get a park within a half a mile of every resident. And so we're pretty close to that. It's about $475,000 per acre to develop a community park, and it's about $300,000 per acre to develop a neighborhood park. So now getting to our survey and what we heard from the public when we were talking about what do you guys want to see. As you can see, the top 3 are trails, natural areas, parks, and waterfront amenities. Facilities that people would like to see to enhance the community, we have natural areas, number 1, trails again is number 2, and then we're getting into things like performing arts venue. We kind of strayed outside the bounds of some Parks and Rec things just to see what people wanted, and more docks and cultural facilities. When we asked, how would you rate the importance of our natural areas? Overwhelming response, very important. When we asked them what 3 things should be added to our park system, number 1 again, more bike lanes and trails, a lot of bicyclists and walkers. More parks and trails near water, more pickleball courts. Got a high demand for that. And more mountain and hiking and mountain biking trails. What 3 activities we'd like to see expanded? We see more bike lanes and trails again, more natural parks, and we have a bunch that are pretty close, like police presence, disc golf, public parks near water, and food trucks. That was a big one. And what specific areas would you like to see additional natural areas? And so along the Spokane River was number 1, even after Atlas Park was built and opened. And of course, everywhere, and then waterfront were the top 3 responses. So when asked where they'd like to see more trails and bikeways, everywhere again was number 1, followed by along the Spokane River, followed by the Atlas Mill site, and then a north-south trail that's on the east side, which has been planned for, but we haven't begun work on it. So our park system is getting so big that we had to create 2 maps so it would be visible on the screen here for everybody. These are the north parks in the northern part of the city. We have them categorized by community parks, neighborhood parks, sports complexes, and natural parks. These are all of our parks on the south side of the city. And this is a pretty crowded map of our future parks. So the solid circles you see are already our existing parks. We have some stars up there representing, the red large stars represent community parks. The orange ones represent neighborhood parks. The ones that have dotted lines around them are already proposed parks that have a management plan and will be coming. So we have up here in the northwest corner of the map, we have the Trails subdivision, which we already have parkland dedicated to the city for that. We have the BLM property, which I spoke about earlier, the 22 acres that's already been leased to us by the Bureau of Land Management. And over here on the northeast side of town, we have the Can Course natural area, which we are working on an agreement with the property owner to incorporate into the city. So, like I said earlier, we developed where these parks would go based on a couple things. One was where it's needed to serve the neighborhoods and to be within a certain distance from each neighbor or each citizen, so they can actually get to parks by walking or riding their bike. So, comes to the decision point. This of course says Parks and Rec Commission, but will the General Services recommend to City Council the adoption of the 2021 Parks and Recreation Master Plan? So if you have any questions.
Thank you, Monty. Any questions?
Well, just curious on the natural or nature park, how kind of raw or rustic does it need to, I mean, kind of how did you define that? I realize it's not totally undeveloped, but.
Well, with a nature park, we try to keep it as natural as possible. We don't put amenities in like drinking fountains or playgrounds, or it's usually maybe a parking lot if we can fit one in an area. But it's mainly hiking trails, sometimes mountain bike trails. We usually manage the forest to try to keep it healthy, but to let things lie. If a tree falls, you usually let it lie. Clear off trails, of course, or any hazards. But it's for people to enjoy the natural experiences if they're way out in the woods.
Okay.
And in some cases, we have some parks that part of it is a natural area, but part of it is a passive use park. So that would be in the case of Veteran Centennial. Part of that will be a wooded natural area. The other part may have some dirt or gravel trails, and maybe a gravel parking lot. Winton has an area that has a baseball field. It has some horseshoe pits, but it also has a natural area with a gazebo that people can just go and relax in. There might be benches in that one, but typically we don't put even benches and minimal signs in those.
And just kind of the map that was up, I think in the kind of the upper left quadrant with a, the big red star for community park, kind of what is that area? And did you say we already own that much?
Well, the one above the red one,
Where the red star, yeah.
with the yellow lines around it, that's one that we already own.
Okay.
That is going to be the Trails. We don't have a name for it yet, but it's the Trails subdivision. The one below that is currently in farmland, but it's come forward recently to be developed, and they've come up with some plans that I'm sure you've all have seen. That was an area, even back in 2008, that was identified as a place that needs a community park. And in those preliminary drawings that they've submitted with that development, they do have parks already conceptualized to be in that area, and trails and green belts and all kinds of wonderful things for the community.
Okay.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Well, I will just tell you that the fact that you developed this in-house, you and Bill, there isn't anybody who knows our park system better than you and Bill and your staff. And I'm glad that you did it. I don't think it needs to go to an outside consultant. Just the accomplishments from the last time you did it should tell everyone we don't need a consultant to do this. We've got Bill and Monty, and you've identified very well what our future's going to be. And thank you so much for including that little bit of budget piece. I know it's kind of just a ballpark figure, but it helps council as we move forward to know what those costs could be. Well, first of all, I think it's a fantastic plan, and Park and Rec loved it. And again, as Amy said, all the accomplishments, think about the last 12 years, it's pretty incredible. But I would also like council at some point, and I know it's just general services, but I think it's so important for us to wrap these master plans into, because there's a few of them in our departments, into a strategic plan that they all fold well together so that we can really start planning the next 5 to 10 years, do some master planning for the whole city, and identify how do we want to put money here and there and there. we're a community that likes to be outside. And the people come from all over the world to be outside here. So the fact that we can offer up these kind of amenities, and hopefully some of them are supported through parking fees from all those people that come. I just think it's incredible what you've done, Bill and Monty, and fully support it. So I would be happy to make a motion,
Great.
Great.
unless there's more discussion. I don't
Well,
know.
I was just gonna say thank you again. This is fantastic, and not only is a master plan fantastic, so are our parks, and, I'm,
I have to say that Mike Kimpton was a big part of this as well, but he's out of the state right now, so he couldn't be here to help present it.
well, I sure appreciate everyone's effort on it, and congratulations.
Thank you.
Madam Chair, I'd make a motion to recommend the council adopt the 2021 Park and Recreation Master Plan.
Second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes.
Good work.
All right, moving along to item number 3, we have item V-20-05, vacation of alley right-of-way located in the final plat of Shaw's subdivision in the city of Coeur d'Alene. Dennis Grant is here, our engineering project manager.
Thanks, council. Appreciate you spending some time with me today. We have 2 vacations today coming up. This is the first one. Big picture, what we want today is to set up the public hearing for the council meetings. So I'll go ahead and run a few details here. On our first one, the applicants are Christopher Deering and Heather Dorrell, and they are wanting to vacate the alleyway that's showing on there. The location is between as you can see, between Davidson and Emma Avenue, just west of Government Way. There's a little leftover piece that's 11-foot wide alleyway. And it was dedicated to the city in 1914, so a long time ago. And the benefit to the city would be, it would be in our tax base for the future. And then it would benefit the owners, the adjoining owners there, obviously, with that little stretch of land. So the alley does not contain any city utilities. That's usually a question that comes up. There is a franchise utility that would keep their access easement through there for the power company. The development review team was informed about this vacation, and the recommendation is for council to proceed with this vacation per Idaho Code Section 50-1306, and recommend setting a March 16th, 2021 as the date for the public hearing on this item. Thank you.
Any questions?
Well, then I would make a motion to recommend that council proceed with the vacation process as outlined in Idaho Code Section 50-1306 and set a public hearing for March 16th, 2021.
Second?
Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion passes.
Okay, thank you. All right, this second vacation request, we've had several in the last couple of years on Southeast Way. It's from the Family Holdings and KLSRMS LLC. They're the applicants. And basically the Coeur d'Alene Honda owners. And they have acquired the properties on both sides of their auto dealership. And they, back, I don't know, maybe 7-8 years ago, in front of Coeur d'Alene Honda, there was a vacation that came through council and was approved. And so they're requesting the same thing on those other 2 properties to match what they have in the center. There has been several properties across the street, across Southeast Way there, with the city. We did a vacation with the Atlas Riverfront property there. And then also, just last year, where Coeur d'Alene Sprinkler is to the east, we did a vacation also there with similar dimensions. So, a little bit of history on this. It was the 4-lane divided highway known as Southeast Way was originally constructed back in 1926 as US Highway 10. And there's about plus or minus 200 feet of right-of-way in there, so there is excess right-of-way. The purpose of this request is to, well, I already stated that, so because of the future expansion of Southeast Way, the project we just had, that showed us exactly how much leftover right-of-way we had. So I guess that's pretty much it. So again, staff recommends to proceed with the vacation process as outlined in Idaho Code Section 50-1306 and recommends a setting of a March 16th, 2021 public hearing on this item. Thank you.
Madam Chair? And you've identified this as just excess right-of-way. The city will never have a use for it.
Right, in this case, there is some city utilities in this area which we will require the applicant to give us an easement for.
Okay.
So, when we did the Southeast Way project, some of the sewer main was moved into Southeast Way. There's a little piece on the west side that, actually a water main piece that never was moved into the Southeast Way area during the project that we'll need to get an easement for. And then also, we'll need an easement for the utility. There's a utility goes back to I-90 from Southeast Way that we'll need to get an easement for. So there is a little difference there that we'll get some easements from these, the applicants for the utilities.
And Randy, are those fairly easy to get done, the easements?
Yes, I understand that the applicants are willing to grant the easement, so.
Yeah, or else this will not happen.
Okay,
Yeah.
great.
I try to get all that accomplished before I even bring it to you, although they'll have to go through council also with those two easements, so they'll probably come the same night as a public hearing.
Great.
So I have the consultant, their hired consultant put together a legal description for those easements, and then then we come to you guys for approval on those. So
Great.
that's good, great question, and that'll happen either concurrent or before.
Any questions, Dan?
No, otherwise, it sounds like a couple of kind of orphan parcels to.
Yeah,
pick
that
up and
that
so-
allows the property owners to do some expansion and allows the
Yeah.
city to have a larger tax base, get more revenues off of that, so.
Well, then I would make that motion to recommend council proceed with the vacation process as outlined in Idaho Code Section 50-1306 and set a public hearing for March 16th, 2021.
Second?
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Well, that wraps up our agenda today for general services.
Thank you.